in terms of perhaps tips to small business owners, how do they set themselves apart from so many players in such a segmented market?
I think this is really interesting. And I actually had a conversation with my husband about this, like this morning. It's just a simple example. We've always bought Oral-B electric toothbrushes. Like it's always kind of been Oral-B, and like that's what your dentist provides. That was they recommend, etc. And then on Amazon, I saw like this other brand. I can't remember the name off the top of my head, which is sometimes that is the issue I'm buying on Amazon, that you don't think of the brand first. You think about like just the product in itself. I was literally just thinking that I was like, I bought something else and I'm actually really happy about the product now. And I would not go back to Oral-B because it's just so like from a price perspective, and also it's supporting a small business. I can see their story. It's just not a massive company, and I can support a small business. And I think there's opportunity to disrupt everything. Like I've come with this mentality right from the start where I used to think, what if Google builds something like what I'm building? And that was my first startup. Or I remember thinking Airbnb is going to do this hosting dinner parties in their homes, and they do it right now. But that doesn't mean there's not a market for me, like a piece of the pie. So I think the pie is really big. And what you need to think about is how can I take a specific piece? Because you don't have to have the entire pie. You really don't. Like that is a really, really big chunk. So it's kind of thinking, okay, how do I take a piece of that specific pie? And what is going to be my differentiator there? So I think that's why doing sort of analysis on like, what is that problem that you're solving for customers? Like, how are you going to go even nicher into that specific problem and then sell them on that and get like 2, 3, 4, 5% of the market? That can already build you like $1 billion business. Like it doesn't have to be everything. So I think some of the advice I'll give, again, every business is really different. So I don't want to say like it's all about authenticity or it's all about giving your story. But there is something about a personal brand, and that doesn't have to be the entrepreneur itself. It can be the brand itself. Like, why was it created? I think more and more people want to hear that. They're interested. They just want to listen to like, and why. Now, I think there's specific products that are very price competitive. So they'll be like, it's all about the price. Some products it's all about like where it was built. Like I think nowadays when you buy something and it's plastic, like you think about actually, no, I don't want to do that. So you will kind of be a bit more conscious about which type of products you're buying and from where and like how is it being created, etc. So I think it's about really figuring out what is your differentiator. Now that takes time. Like you'll start with a hypothesis one. So your value hypothesis, you'll start with one thing. Now you need to figure out how to validate it or not validate it, like devalidate it or unvalidate it. And then think from there onwards, okay, so then this brings me on to my next point, which is this is my next hypothesis. And then through that sort of journey, you'll realize like, what is your real differentiator? And sometimes you might realize with so many brands, like the real differentiator is the person who's actually selling it. And now you need to think about the next step problem, which is how does the business not depend on you only? Like if you wanted to sell that business tomorrow, which is a lot of the cases with e-commerce businesses today, like so many businesses are creating, they're sort of, okay, I need to get to this profit margin or this level in order to sell it for 2x, 3x multiple. And I want to do that next year. So many businesses I speak to have that goal in mind. So it's kind of thinking, okay, then how do you be like the sort of sole point of failure, if that's the thing. So I think it's kind of as a business evolves, like you'll figure out like the different areas where you need to be more strategic and etc. But I think it all comes down to like why you versus someone else. And there is a lot of different reasons. Like it can be your product itself. I've seen a lot of businesses just following what competitors do and following what they're doing today. But no, you have to have a vision. That's where kind of going into like knowing what the problem it is that you're solving. You need to be building for the next 5 years. And think in 5 years, because that's how you're going to stay competitive in the market, not just copying what your competitors are doing tomorrow, because then you're just catching up, right? Like every day.